Italian Football Podcast.
Let's talk about Andrea Cambiaso, though. He was, as I said, man of the match in this 3-0 win against Udinese, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was brilliant. People that listen to this show for a while know that I've been a big fan of him for a long time, for over a year.
I've said it for like a long time since we saw him at Genoa, pretty much. I mean,
yeah, and for the Italy under-21s when he was playing on the right, I love how unorthodox this player is.
He's such a modern guy, isn't he? Like, he's such a modern type of player in how he, like the role he occupies. He's not a traditional wing back or anything like that. I just think he's so modern in how he's got such a high footballing IQ as well, that he knows how to interpret many different roles. He can, the fact that he can play inverted as well. I really, really rate him.
Absolutely. For me, he's one of the most unorthodox footballers I've seen in the world. I mean, we're not talking about ability here. He's just style. He's such a unique player. I mean, I remember watching him playing right back for the Italy under-21s, and the way that he was cutting inside across the pitch, he was picking up the ball at right back, and he was running diagonally with the ball into the centre of midfield with it, and then it was so unrefreshing and unlike anything you've seen. And the opposition were like, they didn't know what to do. The players didn't know where to move. It was amazing. And obviously he's playing on the left for Juventus. He's playing as a left wing back. He's playing in a 3-5-2 rather than in a 4-man defence. But he is, he says himself, Joao Cancelo is the player that he models his game on. He was his idol. He says he studies Cancelo. He actually says he actually said, and this talks about his intelligence. He says that he has virtually a photographic memory, so he memorizes the movements of Cancelo and then copies them. And actually, Cancelo sent him a Manchester City shirt and recently signed to him as a present. And you should have seen that they did a video, Juventus, that they put out on social media showing his reaction, and he was made up by it. I mean, he really does love the player. So I mean, if he's even half the player that Cancelo was, I mean, that would be fantastic. But in this game, he was.
I don't like to draw comparisons to players in the past or present. But there's something about, he's got characteristics, this unorthodox characteristics, this everything that you're describing, this ability, that the fact that he's such an intelligent football player in terms of the photographic memory and all of that he can read situations, he can read games, and he knows he can read when to do what and how and what. To me, more than Cancelo, he reminds me of Zambrotta.
Yes,
that aspect of his game reminds me of Zambrotta.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't see Cancelo in him that much. I mean, Cancelo, I think, is a much better, close ball dribbler. Like Cancelo's fantastic at dribbling past players in tight spaces, and Cambiaso, we'll see. Let's see. But Cambiaso is tactically a fascinating player. I mean, he plays as a left wing back. We're taking him from Juventus. He's a left wing back, but he comes in field. He plays. I mean, he's been playing, and this is something that Magnanelli's been working on. This is clearly the print of Magnanelli. So he starts off as a left wing back, but then comes into the centre of midfield. So he plays as an inverted left wing back. That then vacates the space on the left wing for Federico Chiesa to move into. We saw that in pre-season. We also saw it during this game against Udinese as well, which is really, really good. I mean, this is modern football. This is how modern football works. You couldn't do that with someone like Filip Kostic, for example, because he's a total one-dimensional linear player that just goes straight up and down the line. Now, this poses problems, and it causes problems for opposition teams because it pulls defenders and players out of position, and it opens up spaces, and it creates overloads, and so that's number one. But he also, he's shown that he's very, very flexible. He was pushing up really high, as I said earlier, as a left winger, pressing up high. But he's also very comfortable playing in a back four. He can play in a back four. He played in a back four for last season for Bologna. He can play on the left. He can play on the right. He can play in the midfield. He started his career as a central trequartista. So he's virtually an attacking midfielder. So he's an attacking player. The attacking actually comes more easier to him than the defending. So he's a very, very interesting player, very modern player. And I think he's the kind of player that, we talk about it a lot, about how Pep Guardiola, Arteta, De Zerbi, Klopp, they love these kind of inverted players. Like, to give you examples, Klopp playing Trent Alexander-Arnold as a right back, and then when Liverpool are in position, Alexander-Arnold then moves into a central midfield role. And he goes from basically, it goes into a three-man defence. It goes into basically a 3-2-4-1 or 3-2-2-3 kind of, and Zinchenko at Arsenal playing as a left back, he moves into central midfield when Arsenal have the ball. Pep doing the same with John Stones, going from a centre back into a central midfield. This is modern football. Players that can morph from one role into another. It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
And that they can do it throughout in one game. They can manage to do several roles in one game, and it makes it more fluid because teams are so well prepared defensively nowadays that you need to have that kind of fluidity about your game. And also the players have to be able to execute those tactics. Absolutely.
And Cambiaso seems to be, he's good on both sides. He can go right, he can go left. Look at the game against Udinese, the assist for Rabiot's goal, beautiful curled shot. He created 2 other chances in the game. He had 2 shots in the first half, nearly scored, 97% pass success rate, 100% cross success rate. It was the ideal debut for he's been at Juventus for a year, but this was his actual debut for Juventus, and he's had quite an interesting move up the pyramid because he came 4 years ago. He was playing in Serie D.
He played with Alessandria. I think it was Alessandria he played for, and then he moved
in
up
Serie C with Alessandria, but he was actually in Serie D with Savona.
You're right. And then he went to Empoli, and Dionisi was there, and
he's played in the space of 3 years. In the space of 3 years, he played in all of the top 4 divisions of Serie A.
And Dionisi was there. I think he only made like 7-8 matches, played for them 7-8 times for Empoli when they were promoted to Serie A. Interesting play. It's a very interesting
player to watch. Modern player. And I just have to say one other thing. Again, just shows that the left backs that Italy have coming through is something that is great. It's great to see. We have such a depth at left back.
But luckily with Cambiaso, he can also play on the right, and that brings me to the Zambrotta thing. Do you know what I mean? He gives you because given that Italy have Di Marco, Parisi, Udogi, well, Cambiaso can just slide into the right.
Hopefully that will happen. And Zambrotta is a great shout because Zambrotta also started as a forward. When he was young, he was a forward. Then he moved into a wide midfielder. When he joined Juventus, he was a wide midfielder, and then it was Lippi that had the idea to bring him back as a wing back, as a fullback. And
then he played as a wing back, fullback, right, left, everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.